Hey everyone, and welcome to this week's DEI Talk. Got a couple things that we can discuss this week. Just some things to think about, some things that I've been reading about. A couple things that I know a lot of you attended the Coupa conference this week. There were several great sessions talking about diversity, equity, and inclusion. I went to a couple of them, provided some really great information. And again, I think the great thing about these topics is they're constantly evolving. There's definitely different ways we can look at it, different ways we can discuss, different actions that we can take. So I want to continue our conversations so that we can really show not only that DEI matters to us, but we're putting our beliefs into action, which is exactly what we want to be doing. So a couple things that I wanted to highlight this week. First off, a lot of individuals when they're first exposed to DEI, we know diversity, equity, and inclusion, but do we really know what each one of them is essentially? Do we know the definitions and what we're talking about? Because they're all they all kind of play the same game, but they all focus on different areas, so to speak. So, for example, diversity. We heard diversity a lot. Diversity in its simplest form is there's multiple identities represented in an organization. So we have a fair amount of men versus women. We have people who are in their 20s, people who are in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and so forth, so on. We have African Americans, we have Hispanic Americans, we have Asian Americans, we have Caucasian Americans. We have a good race of racial identity. We have a good religious, diversity. We have Protestant, Catholic, Jewish, Muslim, anything or any other religion or no religion at all. Diversity means we have different identities represented in an organization. So that's the actual makeup that when we look at that. So that's what diversity in and of itself is. So then we talk about what is equity. So we hear diversity and then we think about equity. Well, equity is, in its simplest form, it's constantly and consistently recognizing and helping people attain their fullest potential. So it's not just saying, oh yeah, we hope that you get promoted someday. We hope that everybody, if you start early in your career, that you'll be here a long career. Equity is trying to really take the time to help individuals develop, grow, and learn within an organization, helping them create more balance. So again, what we hope, in an equitable situation is, as individuals who have similar backgrounds, similar experience, similar education, things along those lines are paid on an equitable basis, and that's what we're hoping for when we talk about equity is trying to create more balance within the organization. So, and then finally, we want to talk about inclusion, and inclusion, if you think of diversity as, who makes up our organization, and then equity is how can we, bring each one of those individuals to their fullest potential. Inclusion is kind of taking their own thoughts, ideas, and perspectives and ingraining it into the culture. So, just because, somebody, has a diverse background and, maybe succeeding in the organization and maybe, being paid equitably, et cetera, are we including them in company strategy or organization strategy? Are we making sure that their ideas in meetings are being listened to and being put into action? So, so if you take all those things together, that's what DEI is. But, actually, I would take it one step further. And I think most DEI professionals would take it a step further. It's great that we have diversity and equity and inclusion. But if we kind of mix all those together, then we almost create a fourth aspect called belonging. And belonging, we know we'll say is an organization that engages the full potential of the individual. Things like innovation is thriving, views, beliefs, and values are integrated into the culture. So, obviously, when we all started here, at U of I, we wanted to have a career. We wanted to feel belonging. We wanted to have a long career. So by engaging DEI, and kind of melding all those concepts together, we're creating a sense of belonging, which is ultimately what we want to do. So again, I hope this kind of helps you realize the differences between each one of them. They all work together, hopefully trying to achieve a belonging and trying to say that we are valued within our organization. That's the ultimate goal. The quick second point that I wanted to talk about is one thing that we were one of the sessions I was listening to in the conference was talking about when we're engaging with people with DEI type discussions, how do we respond? What is the best way to engage in a positive conversation? So and I heard things called the AAA method. And it was something that I'd never heard before, but I really like it. AAA method is acknowledge, affirm, and ask. So somebody is telling you their story or the struggles that they've had or the experiences that they've had, or something about their family, their friends, or how they view the world. And so the first thing that we want to do is acknowledge. So, I hear you, and thank somebody for sharing that. Talking about yourself, for a lot of people is not easy, and especially sharing if you've experienced sexism or racism or religious discrimination. Those are very difficult topics to talk about. So we want to acknowledge that somebody, showed confidence us to share that with us. We want to thank them for sharing that. So we're acknowledging them. The second thing that we're doing is we're affirming them. It makes sense that you would feel that way. I think we've all probably heard, have you heard somebody versus have you listened to them? We hear we hear people's words, we hear the tone in their voice, but are we really listening? Are we putting their words into perspective, into context, and understanding who they are? So we want to listen to somebody, not necessarily hear them, but we're affirming them. It makes sense that somebody would feel that way. And finally, we want to ask them, do you want to say more about that? Do you want to expand upon that? Do you have more examples you can share with me? Ask them if they're comfortable sharing more with you, because again, it's about building a connection and building trust. The more we can engage, the more we build up that sense of belonging to each other. So I really like this aspect of the AAA method. It's something that I'm definitely going to try to put into my own personal actions. So in addition to the things that we should say, there was kind of funny some things that we should not say. So a couple of examples they give were a few things not to say. First off, I know exactly what you're going through. So even if you've had similar experiences and in a similar background, we can never truly understand what somebody has gone through. It's their own personal experience. So to say, I know exactly where you're going through, it kind of demeans a little bit, and it makes them feel almost on the defensive. So, you can share similar experiences and share, and it makes sense that you feel that way, but don't just say, "Oh, I know exactly what you're going through." So, I've actually heard somebody say this when somebody was sharing their life story and the struggles they had gone through, and I actually heard somebody say, "It could be worse." And with everything going on in society right now, I know a lot of people don't have jobs. I've even heard somebody say, well, it could be worse, just be thankful you have your job right now. And again, that completely undermines the person, and it naturally puts them on the defensive, and you don't seem as sincere in wanting to open up to them. So again, not something great that we should say. And I think kind of the last thing we don't want to say is, I'm sure it will get better soon. And again, you're kind of putting a Band-Aid on the experiences that individuals have had. Is even if you're a positive person and you genuinely feel it's going to get better soon, that's great. Keep that positivity. But when you say it as, oh, don't worry, I'm sure it'll get better soon. Again, you're not really focusing on that individual. So again, just a couple of things that I was in one of these sessions I was listening to, I thought was really, really interesting. So kind of one quick final little thing for us this week is, as I mentioned last week, October is National Disability and Employment Awareness Month. And again, I know a lot of us, truly value, individuals with disabilities bring to our environment. And the reason, and I was reading something this week and I thought it was an amazing little quote. It was from the company DuPont, the massive international conglomerate DuPont. They did a 30-year analysis of individuals in their organization, individuals with disabilities, and they show, and I'm quoting this, individuals with disabilities have higher performance ratings, better retention rates, and less absenteeism than individuals were not. And again, this is kind of in a conglomerate. So it just shows the value that we can have with individuals with disabilities who really add to the fabric of our organization. So, I know a lot of times, when we're looking at, affirmative action reports, or we're looking at how can we, we need to have more, disability individuals with disabilities, but studies have shown they actually add more value to the organization. They're able to share their experiences, helping people become more empathetic, more inclusive, and really add more to us. So again, it is something that we definitely want to focus on as an organization, is how can we, work more with individuals with disabilities? How can we bring them into our organization? How can we work to help them learn new skills and promote them and truly show that they are, that we value them within our organization? So just again, a couple of quick little topics for this week. As always, if anybody has any great ideas for talks that you would like to do, if you would like to even record your own video and send it out to the whole group, I think that's great. I really enjoy doing these, but I want this to be all about us and how we as system HR are valuing diversity, equity, and inclusion. So I hope everyone has a great weekend. I hope everybody's doing well, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks, everyone.